Hey, you guys. I'm running a little late today, so please forgive your girl. I really I want it to be timely, needless to say. How are y'all doing? How was y'all's weekend? I hope it was well. I hope you are feeling rejuvenated, rested, and prepared for this week. I hope that you are ready for this conversation today because I am. So, for those of you joining me, I'm actually live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook today. We are all out. I'm working on this. We're trying to get this together, right? I'm excited. Okay. So, today we're going to be talking about anxious attachment. Anxious attachment. Which I think is a really great conversation. Attachment styles are always great conversation. It can be really tricky because, of course, you can, specifically, I find that sometimes folks can be a combination of things. Excuse me, especially depending on how it shows up. But attachment styles are really a cool way of being able to visualize how you connect and relate in the world. So we're going to be talking about a lot of that today, which I'm really, really, really excited about. I hope y'all are ready for the talk. It's going to be super fun. But checking in, how are y'all doing? Please write in the chat. How was your weekend? Are you prepared for your week this week? Do you feel prepared? Were you rested and rejuvenated? What do you need this week? What do you want this week? Okay, yes, thank you. She got done today. Oh, well, last week. But how are y'all doing? I'm excited to talk to you and know more about you and check in with you. So tell me what's going on. How are y'all feeling? What's the vibe today? Where's the temperature in the room emotionally? Where are y'all today? Are we feeling good, great, joyful, peaceful, sad, happy, exhausted? Where are we? What are y'all feeling today? And don't forget to share, tag a friend, tag a friend, tag a friend. Let folks know. Again, I know I do the posting a day before to let y'all know what I'm going to talk about. But yes, I'm excited to see y'all today. We're going to get into this. Attachment styles are a really great way to conceptualize relationships. We are tired. Okay, tired. I feel you on that. Like, it was beautiful this weekend, but it was also a lot going. It was a lot going on. I'm so proud of my husband. He crossed into the amazing fraternity of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and I'm so proud of him. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? We're proud. We're proud. So it's been an exhausting experience. So I'm happy to be on the other side of that. Thank you for tagging friends. So excited for him. So proud of him. He's really, really, really been so invested in himself and take care of him and what he needs. So I'm really, really proud of that. So, okay, we're going to get started. We're talking anxious attachments. Do any of you are any of you familiar with attachment styles? Have any of y'all heard of or are familiar with attachment styles? Anyone? Anyone familiar? Okay. Well, we're going to talk more about it. No fear, I'm here. Attachment styles are generally ways that people connect for lack of a better word, attach themselves to other people, right? So have y'all ever heard about the experiment with the child and like the parent leaving the child with someone else and like increasingly detaching by leaving? Have y'all ever heard of that? All right. So I'm going to give you a brief overview. Essentially, it was a study done to kind of test attachment styles with a parent leaving a child with, let's say it was a daycare person or a daycare worker, increasingly leaving them so the child felt more trusting, one, with being in the place where they felt safe, two, that the parent was going to return, three, right, that it was consistent, that I'm coming here, I'm going to see this person, I'm going to be in this safe space, my parent is going to return around this time, right? All of that kind of stuff goes into consistency and being able to trust the relationship, right? So when we talk about attachment styles, it really is important to understand the individual's past and like their experience in close relationships. So one with parents, how was your relationship with your parents? What did that look like? If you have parents that were consistent, and I mean consistent in this way, because let's be clear, consistency can speak to any pattern of being that is repetitive and it comes on a schedule of sorts, right? So I can be consistently inconsistent. That is a thing, right? I can be consistently obnoxious. I can be consistent as it relates to being at work on time or being late. So consistency doesn't necessarily lend to what the behavior is versus it being repetitive and sort of on a schedule, if you will. Okay, so I want to set the table for us, okay? So when we talk about anxious attachment, for individuals who have experienced inconsistencies, so let's say we're going to go with the example of the parent and the child. If you have a parent where, okay, I'm going to drop you off at your friend's house, but I don't tell you I'm going to pick you up 4 days later, right? Or I'm going to drop you off at daycare. Maybe I'll show back up today. Maybe your grandma will show up. Maybe somebody else will show up. Maybe dad will show up or whatever. When you have a child and they're establishing trust, repetition is valuable and important, right? Having a secure and safe routine. So if I get dropped off at daycare at 6, I imagine if you pick me up at 4:30, you will continue to pick me up at 4:30, not 6 o'clock, not leave me there with strangers that I don't know, for longer periods of time, or you forget about me, right? That creates distrust. So the anxiety comes when you're in these relationships and you don't trust the outcome, you don't trust the connection. It's almost like living on eggshells. You're not quite sure what to expect. Hopefully, this will be. Okay. Hopefully, this will be trusting and consistent in the way of showing me who you are and you kind of aligning with that. And if it does not, and even sometimes if it does, it creates this anxious push and pull is what I call it. So in therapy, I try my best to stay away from labels, if you will, because sometimes people can get attached to the label without understanding the process, and I'm more invested in the process and the pattern and resolving that or working through that versus the label. The label is generally just a way of kind of categorizing this particular set of symptoms or behaviors, etc. But it's not the end all be all. We have to move past that. So I'll tell you what I see. What I traditionally see is someone who has these. This person may have very low self-esteem. They may have very inconsistent relationships, or they can be consistently failing, right? Have zero to little trust with anyone. They may have a person or two, but even that's on the rocks. And these individuals traditionally carry very anxious. They're always on edge. They're not sure what to expect. Even if someone has been consistently trustworthy or repetitively consistent with safety with them, they may still question or challenge or do this whole push and pull, or the trick of the, like, I'm going to give you a quiz today and they don't know it's a test kind of thing, which can be exhausting for the person on the other side of that. When you are invested in this individual and you are intentionally being faithful or consistent with what they say they need from you, or with just showing up or being communicative or responsive, and this person constantly questions your intentions, why you're doing it, if you're doing it correctly, moving the goalpost. Oh, well, if you're supposed to do this, and well, no, you're supposed to do this, and no, well, now you got to do this, and I'm still trying to figure out if I can trust this connection. It's exhausting. It can be very, very, very exhausting, especially when you really want to be invested in this person and you're really trying your best and giving your best. So what to say to the person who is anxiously attached, right? What do you say to that person? What I will say is this. One of the things that I recommend, which is going to sound really maybe like, are you serious? But it's to slow down. Most of us are running 90 to nothing to this never ending goal or end, right? Life and relationships are a marathon. They're not a sprint. You cannot hurry up to get somewhere, right? Especially in relationships when it requires so much more than tangible things. It's not like, okay, I want to save up for a phone. Let's say the phone is $1,000. I can kind of plan out. I'm gonna say $25 from this check, $100 from this check, $250 from this check, etc. Till I get to my $1,000. Relationships don't quite work like that, especially when you're dealing with a lot of intangibles. You're dealing with complex beings, people who have experienced the world in numerous ways, and the way that they behave, interact, love, experience, express is so much bigger than a moment. So having to quantify that, measure it, be able to provide reinforcement and support the individual in their growth, it requires so much more than these very structured limitations, when being a person is so less focused on boundaries, if that makes sense, more than it is creating the narrative around what's next by understanding or processing what already exists. That takes time. That is an unnumbered process, and it can be frustrating because we want results. We always are looking for outcomes. Listen, even if you intend on being dead, you still have a plan. You heard me. We always have a plan. We always have a plan. That plan doesn't always align with the people we love, like, and care about, especially ourselves, right? How many times have y'all considered how often you had a plan for something, and when it didn't meet your time restraints or constraints or limitations, that you became depressed, sad, disappointed, beating yourself up, anxious, overwhelmed? How many times have y'all found yourself in those places, right? And it's not different from attachment styles. When we are searching or let me back up a little bit. When we are in relationships that we find valuable, sometimes invaluable, and we're going to get to that in a second. When we are in relationships that we find value in, even if the value is about us, what do you mean, Sade? How are we in relationships where we are invested in the value it has for us? For example, in every relationship, there is transactions, right? I spoke a little bit about this before. We have to be getting some kind of benefit out of the relationship in order to stay invested in it. Okay? Most folks don't stay invested in relationships if they're not getting anything out of it. Now, could some of what we're getting out of it be about us? What does that mean? If I'm in this relationship because I'm looking for internal value, I'm here. Maybe they're giving me a little bit of what I need, so I can stay for that. I've prioritized that. That's what I need. That's what I'm willing to stay for. Even if it's all about us, we can still stay in a relationship based on our needs only. Okay? Do y'all have any questions about that? I want to make sure I'm not losing you, because sometimes I can get into it and then folks are completely lost. First question, what is the relationship investment? What am I invested in? Why am I in this relationship? What value of it is to me? What am I looking for? Underlying the looking for, right? Because most times what I find is that what we are looking for, the goal that we set, or this expectation that we have, excuse me, how often do we let other people know it exists? And if it does exist, is that actually what you need or want? Or is it what you think you need or want? Or is what somebody else said you need or want? Because that can also contribute to goalpost moving. Well, I'm hearing that this is supposed to be good and I'm supposed to need or want this, and this is what my family values. So let me search for this. And then when they give it to you, oh, that's not enough. Practicing awareness. I cannot stress that enough. Awareness is so valuable because it contributes to us being able to express what we need. People cannot assume they can, but it's not safe. It's not safe for people to assume what we want or need, and then just kind of be trying to figure it out on the fly. That is a setup for failure. That's a setup for disappointment. It's a setup for embarrassment and hurt. So I encourage folks to be very clear about what they want or need. How does this contribute to the conversation about attachment? With attachment styles, specifically anxious attachment, what we also find is even when the person gets what they need more and they need more and they need more and they need more, because it's just not enough. Because the issue is not necessarily with the person, more so it is than it is with the individual, right? It's with me, it's not with you. So we have to be clear about what we need. We have to resolve our internal anxiousness, right? That comes from trusting ourselves, trusting our voice, trusting our ability to problem solve and make decisions about folks, and also trusting the importance of understanding that pain and hurt do come with relationships. We're not abstinent from that. It's going to happen. The more that you love and the more invested you are, the more that you have to lose, the more hurt you stand to experience. That's just a part of it. And because we're dealing with imperfect people, right, in the world, we have to assume that they're going to mess up sometimes. It's just safe to assume that. And we can provide support, grace, and empathy in those moments. But we also have to provide boundaries. Be clear about what your boundaries are. In the space of being anxiously attached, clarity is key, right? What part of this is about me and what part of this is about you? Be clear and be transparent with that person so they can support you in that experience. They're not there to do it for you. They're there to support you, right? Okay. So how about I give you an example? Let's say that I have a friend, and they struggle with anxious attachment. So every couple of months or a year or so, we are in this space of questioning our friendship, questioning value, questioning meaning. We do this every year. Look, girl, I love you. I've been here for you. I'm here for you. What do you need from me? Well, I'm just not sure where we are, and I need a little bit more, attention from you. And maybe I just need us to spend more time together. Okay, let's plan out our little trips. I know that is what you need. Right? But I want to be clear. It's not that I've been inconsistent in my efforts with you and what we've agreed upon. This is what your needs are in order for you to feel secure. Now, part of that security has nothing to do with me. And that person being clear that their anxiousness is not a one-way street is really important, right? It's really, really important. When you are dealing with individuals who are insecure, right? They struggle with the security, and it can be, most times it's not a particular person. It kind of comes across the board, right? Unless there have been traumas or traumas or violations in a particular relationship. That's a whole nother conversation, which we haven't gotten on cheating and infidelity. We're going to get into that. That's it for another day. So what I would say to this person is hear what I'm saying, slow down. Take some deep breaths. Practice meditating. The greatest thing that I appreciate about meditating is your ability to focus on slowing down, slowing your breath, slowing your thoughts, slowing your internal responsiveness, slowing down. We move at such a rapid pace. Most times, by the time we catch up to ourselves, it's too late. Time has passed us by, which contributes to us living in neutral. We kind of just do the routine without being a part of it. Slow down. Practice being present. Read the room, right? Ask questions. Be curious. Don't assume, right? Be clear about your investment and what you need. Also be clear about who you're speaking to and who you're intending on getting it from. So 1, slow down. Take some deep breaths. Practice meditating, allowing yourself to focus your breath and your energy on a slower pace, right? Because impulsivity is a part of this. We respond to what feels natural to us, and we don't even give it a second thought. Slow down, right? Because we have to own that we're not slowing down. That's not anyone else's fault. That's on us. So slowing down, again, you can practice deep breathing or meditation for that. The other would be write a list. Good morning. Write a list, okay? A lot of times we struggle with checking ourselves because it's so abstract. If something is too abstract for you to be able to process and problem solve, write it down. Make a pros and cons list. Is what I'm thinking rational? Does A plus B equal C? Does it make sense? Put it on paper. Hold yourself accountable. Don't leave it to be abstract, because you're going to be you, and I mean you as in us. We have the ability to convince ourselves of whatever it is we want to believe. That's just that. Whatever narrative we're invested in, we can walk ourselves in and out of something very quickly. Put it on paper. Write a pros and cons list. Make it make sense. Talk to a valuable confidant. When I say valuable confidant, y'all, I mean someone who's going to call you on your shit. Please, please, please don't lend to the yes man. And please, please, please don't lend to the pessimist, right? You need some, which is hard already. I know a lot of folks live in extremes. I know. I've been there. I find folks that are balanced and unbiased, that will be transparent and honest with you and will call you out when you are sabotaging yourself, right? They will call you and they will be very clear in their communication with you. That is invaluable. It's priceless. Paper and pencil. Write it down. And the other thing is, if you don't like writing, I like voice notes or recording it on your phone, because you can still hear yourself play it back. Okay, wait, that don't even make sense. I'm listening to myself and I sound like a fool. I'm not making sense here, right? So it just gives you the opportunity to slow down and think through and process what you're thinking and what you're doing. Am I more invested in the narrative than I am in the present? That is a question. Am I invested more in the narrative than I am in the present? Why am I so invested in this particular narrative? Does it just reiterate and support my reasoning for being distrusting? Most times, y'all, our narratives support what we want to believe about ourselves and about other people. So we have to constantly question those and be able to process them to make sure they're going in the direction that we need to go, not necessarily what feels natural, because sometimes that can be based in of a sea of trauma and hurt. And that's not fair to us, right? Because life is so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that. We have to give ourselves the opportunity to experience more than that. But that requires investment. It requires investment. How invested in you and how invested are you in things being different? That's something you have to ask and answer. So what I will say, if nothing else, if y'all took nothing else away from this, I will say this. We have to be accountable. Attachments and our connections to people in the world are what makes us human beings, right? That's one of the biggest, most beautiful parts of our being, is being connected, being able to love and live, being able to share those soul binding experiences and those spiritual awakenings with someone else. It is the most beautiful, transformative experience. You will miss it if you're constantly somewhere else. Whatever's happening now will go right by you. Do not be afraid to work on you. Do not be afraid to say, I'm not okay. Do not be afraid to ask for help. That is the value of living, is that we are transformative, evolving beings. Things can always change. You have to be invested. Did any of this make sense to y'all today? Yes, grounding techniques like the deep breathing, meditating, things like that. I will talk about, I could do one on grounding techniques in the future too, because there are some that I prefer over others. But yes, those are a few. Y'all know we have to know who we are first before we start putting what we want and need for others. Facts. Yes. Is there anything y'all want to ask? Is there any comments? Is there like, Sade, you're totally talking shit? You know, what are y'all thinking? I am so invested in what you think. What do y'all think? What do y'all think about what you heard today? Are any of y'all struggling with anxious attachment? Do you know of any of your friends that are struggling with anxious attachment? How did you deal with it? How did they deal with it? Are there any people that you can reflect on to say, wow, they were struggling and I just couldn't deal? Anything you could think of? I really want us to provide grace to folks. Folks are struggling, all of us included, struggling. So providing grace gives us the space to be a person and to try to figure it out. Are there any questions, y'all? Any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all? I am invested in what you have to say, what you think. I appreciate y'all joining me today. I really, really love for us to be able to have these kinds of conversations, because I think it allows us the opportunity to think past what our everyday experience is and really delve deep into what our soul experiences are, right? Because we can feel it as we move through the world, as we connect with people, as we connect with ourselves. So this is just an opportunity to have those kinds of conversations and normalize what can seem to be absolutely not normal. I mean, we're all struggling in our own ways. So I hope that this was supportive and helpful. I look forward to seeing you next Monday at 12 EST. Also, if you haven't got your couples conversations cards, make sure you get those off my website, the Mahogany Project, projek.com. If you haven't gotten your workbooks, make sure you get those too. I will have another workshop coming up soon. I look forward to being with y'all next Monday. Peace.